Hi everyone, this video covers what you can expect to see and do on a classic self-drive road trip around Namibia. So where is Namibia? If we look on Google Maps at the continent of Africa, we go down to the bottom, we'll see that Namibia is just above South Africa on the west coast. To show you where we went, we landed at the capital Windhoek and drove from there down to Sossusvlei, then up to the coastal town of Swakopmund. From there we drove up through Damaraland to Etosha and on Humour before coming back to Okanjima and finally back to Windhoek. We flew into Windhoek and got a car from the airport to the Olive Grove guest house, which took about half an hour. We pre-booked all of our lodges and guest houses as well as our 4x4. I put links to all of these below. Our Ford Ranger was delivered to the guest house in the afternoon and we were shown the controls and told the rules of the road. In the evening we went to Joe's Beer House, one of the places in Windhoek that's full of tourists like us. Great fun. Not sure that the drinks menu would be considered acceptable everywhere though. Back to the Olive Grove to find a nightcap, which rounded off the evening nicely. Next day we set off to drive to Sossusvlei, which we were told would take about 7 hours. It didn't look as if it would take that long on the map. The road out of Windhoek is a proper tarmac road. It wasn't long though before we turned off the main road and the road surface changed to gravel. Progress was much slower, which explains why we were told to allow about 7 hours. We made good progress nevertheless until we were about an hour away from our next lodge when we realised that something didn't feel quite right. We had a puncture on our first day. I changed the wheel using one of our 2 spare wheels. In 40-degree heat this was hard work. A quick phone call to the car hire company and we were directed to a garage about 20 kilometres away. Within an hour we were back on the road with a new spare tyre. Great service. We arrived at a desert homestead later than we expected. We were the last guests to book in. Like most of the remote lodges in Namibia, the desert homestead is solar powered and you're encouraged to use water sparingly. The evening meal that night was delicious with a choice of dishes and the staff were great. Next morning was a very early start as we needed to visit the sand dunes of Sossusvlei as the sun comes up, when the massive red dunes look their most dramatic. We were expecting the dunes to be very busy with tourists. Whilst there were a lot of tourists, the area of the dunes is so vast that you can easily feel as if you're on your own. The largest dune is called Big Daddy and it's 325 metres high. It's quite a climb to get to the top and great fun coming back down. The most iconic view of Sossusvlei is Deadvlei with its silvery floor and skeletal trees. We spent the rest of the morning in the dunes, then had a picnic lunch before heading back to the lodge and a rest. The following day we set off for the town of Swakopmund on the coast. This journey takes about 6 hours on the gravel roads. You'll see some animals and ostriches along the way and you'll also pass over the Tropic of Capricorn. Always a photo opportunity. Namibia was part of the German Empire and the architecture in Swakopmund is very Germanic. Being on the coast it was noticeably colder, not necessarily a bad thing. We stayed at the Cornerstone guest house, which was near the centre of the town and easy walking to the shops. We bumped into 2 couples there that had also been staying at the desert homestead and who were doing a similar itinerary to us. We ate at the Tug Restaurant in the evening, which is built around a Scottish tugboat. This is a great restaurant and good value, albeit expensive by Namibian standards. They had a really nice presentation of the after dinner brandy. The brandy glass rested over a tumbler filled with hot water and cocoa beans. The next day we went on a kayaking trip at Walvis Bay. On the way we passed huge pink salt pans where the sea salt is being dried. We saw a lot of wildlife, including a family of jackals that live on the beach. This is also where ships go to die. These were waiting to be towed up the coast to Angola to be scrapped. We kayaked at Pelican Point, which is home to about 6,000 Cape fur seals. Quite a sight.
You don't need the long legs, just something small. What you leave in the car, it's only us. I will give you...
Dinner that night was at the Jetty, another very nice restaurant which is situated right out on the end of the pier. Great views in every direction. We were back on the road the next day up to Spitzkoppe Lodge in southern Damaraland. The temperature quickly climbed again as we went inland. This area is quite barren and sparsely populated. Desert elephants live here, but we didn't see any. The rocks around Spitzkoppe are granite and volcanic and very striking, quite different to other parts of Namibia. Spitzkoppe Lodge is a new site and the amenities are excellent. Our lodge had quite a view. We had a few visitors in the evening. Near the camp is the small Bushman's paradise. Our guide showed us rock paintings here which vary between 2,000 and 6,000 years old. The day ended with a sundowner, and why not? In the second video in this series we go to Etosha, which is one of the best places in Africa to see the wildlife. Click on the link that you can see now. Thanks for watching.